Okay, I'm hoping this works. This has crashed on me multiple times, so let's see how this goes. So, hello, my name is Mr. Lopes, and I'm going to be teaching through the rhetorical appeals. This is for my English 10 course. So here we have, well, the title won't pop up, but I'm going to keep going because it hasn't worked for me so far. Skip the slide. So right here we have the origin of the rhetorical appeals. This is from Aristotle, and he is an ancient Greek philosopher, and he argued that there are three elements to the art of persuasion, which are known as the rhetorical appeals. What are those three? Well, they're right here. Firstly, we have ethos, which is when a writer or speaker attempts to persuade the audience by appearing credible to the audience regarding the topic. So an example of this is a pro athlete or a doctor or a celebrity. These are people that we trust. They have a lot of money, so we often trust them and we idolize them, and we often want to buy the products that they're selling. The next rhetorical appeal is pathos. This is when they use specific emotions to get us to buy something or to get us to think a certain way. And that can often be sadness. They might make us cry by telling us a very sad story, a real life story. It could also be laughing, humor. If they make us laugh, we often want to hear what they have to say. It makes us remember the product. And then also like shock value, when something shocks you, that gets your heart pumping, and that's an emotion, and that's kind of what makes it memorable and what makes you want to buy the product. Just gonna make sure it's still recording. Yep, we're good. The last one, last but not least, we have logos. The writer or speaker attempts to persuade the audience by using logic and reasoning. So this is a common one when it comes to beauty products or food. Things like all natural products are using logos because they're real statistics, real things, and real arguments that just make sense. When a toothpaste says it kills 99% of plaque, that's using logos. It's using logic and reason. So those are the three appeals that you could use in an advertisement or a speech or a debate to persuade somebody to think a certain way or to buy something. Next here we have some ways to analyze the rhetorical appeals. So identification and analysis, discover new opportunities, manage and eliminate threats. That is from the default that I didn't delete. Don't worry about that. Consider how the rhetorical appeal connects to the four parts of the rhetorical situation. So the rhetorical situation, as we learned the other day, is we have to understand the purpose of your argument. What is the purpose? Why are you doing it? We have to understand the argument itself. What is the central claim, right? And we also have to understand the person, the persona. What do you want to be seen as? What do people view you as? And we also have the audience. So who are you talking to? What is your audience? How old are they? What demographic? What political belief? All these things we have to consider when we are trying to sell something or trying to persuade somebody, because we often don't know what they already know, right? That these things are important to consider. We also need to describe how you know it's that rhetorical appeal. So you need to be able to describe to me how you know it's ethos or how you know it's pathos. What kind of emotions are they trying to instill, and what are they doing to get you to cry or to get you to laugh? What are they doing? Also for logos, that's an easy one to point out because it's just what statistics are they using? What data and research have they been using? So it says describe how you know it's a rhetorical appeal that you said it is and why it's important. So why is that rhetorical appeal important to the advertisement or the argument? And also keep in mind that you will need to access some background knowledge to understand the types of appeals. So be ready to make lots of inferences. So we learned inferences a while ago. We've been making a lot of inferences. So in order to understand these appeals, we're going to have to make some inferences because it's not always clear what the appeals are. It's not always clear what the advertisement is trying to do. So you need to make some inferences, make some conclusions based on prior knowledge in order to get to the real conclusion. And so next year we have an example. So this is an advertisement from a long time ago for a box of Chesterfield cigarettes. So this is an example of ethos. As you can see, we have a very famous baseball player. His name is Babe Ruth. He is advertising these cigarettes, right? So this is an example of using ethos in advertisement. And this is how I would describe my analysis. I would say, we know this because they are using the famous and credible baseball player Babe Ruth to show that cigarettes are good for you, right? Good enough for Babe Ruth even. So if we like watching baseball, we like Babe Ruth, we think he's a really good baseball player and he's advertising this, then it must be a good product and we should buy it too. And obviously, times sure were different back then. So this wouldn't fly today, but this is how they sold stuff back in the day. This is how they sold cigarettes, even though people didn't know that they were bad. They would use famous celebrities to sell them. So people just bought into it. And now, here's a bit of a challenge. Now that we know the three rhetorical appeals, I'm asking you now to identify the rhetorical appeal. What appeal is this advertisement using? So I'll give you a couple seconds. You can look at the advertisement. We have orange juice, obviously, by the brand Domty. I've never heard of it, but it seemed like a cool ad. So how do you get to that conclusion if you already know what appeal it is? So think about, how do you get to that conclusion? What do you see? And then what do you see and what do you already know that makes you think that? So what do you know from your past? What have you seen in the past that leads to that conclusion? So obviously this appeal would be logos, right? It's using logic and reason. It's advertising orange juice and it's telling us it comes straight from the orange. There's nothing else. It's just pure orange juice. So using logically, we would want to drink that, right? We don't want orange juice that has a bunch of preservatives and stuff. We just want the orange. So this is using logos to sell to us because it's telling us it's straight from the orange, right? And now, before we go into class tomorrow, all I want you to do is take maybe 10 minutes after this presentation here and write these answers down. So all I want you to do is, on a separate piece of paper, write down your sales pitch for selling this pen. So imagine you are the advertiser. Okay, so you're the advertiser, you are selling this pen, and you're going to use all three rhetorical appeals in your advertisement. So how are you going to use ethos to sell your pen? What credibility are you going to use? Are you going to use a celebrity, a famous athlete? So write down something for ethos. And also we have pathos. How are you going to sell this pen using emotions? Or are you going to use humor? Or are you going to use shock value? How are you going to sell the pen using that? You can obviously be as creative as you want. And the last but not least, we have logos. Sell this pen using logic or reasoning. So think about some statistics that might exist for this pen, maybe how long it lasts. Just try to be creative. How would you sell this pen using all three rhetorical appeals? Bring that piece of paper to class tomorrow and you'll be all caught up for our lesson, where we're going to go a little bit more in depth on using the rhetorical appeals and the various ways we can use it for specifically selling, because in the real world we might be doing some selling. So that's all. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I'm really glad that this recording finally worked. Here we go.